At this point in the Creed, we have established that there is one God and three persons. Now, sometimes that's hard to wrap your head around. So this is the perfect time for me to share my analogy with you that helped me make sense of the Trinity. Interested? Okay. Now, I love trying to make sense of things. I'm a math and science guy. I love trying to make sense of things, and I do this by coming up with analogies. I came up with this one like 10 years ago. I wrote it up. It's on my website. But I cannot find this analogy anywhere else on the planet. I've looked. I can't find it anywhere else. But to me, the Trinity is very much like a magnet. We've probably already, everybody's played with a magnet, right, back in school. And we know that it has two poles, a north pole and a south pole. We know that. Magnets are amazing. Have you ever noticed, have you ever, sort of wondered, they've got constant power. There's no batteries. You don't change a battery in a magnet. It's just, there's constant power in a magnet, which is amazing. And they're attractive. And if you're at a distance, that third part, the invisible magnetic field, can pull you closer. And if we sprinkle iron filings on a table, that can help us sort of see the magnetic field that is around. But here's where it gets interesting. Each of those elements, the North Pole, the South Pole, and the field, each of those elements is in an interlocking harmony with the other two. If these elements exist in such a way that if one is present, the other two have to be there. If there's a North Pole, there has to be a South Pole. If there's a South Pole, there has to be a North Pole. If there's a North and a South Pole, there has to be a field. And if you can sense a field, you know that there's a North and a South Pole. All three are always there. In a magnet, it's the attraction between the North Pole and the South Pole that creates the field. In God, it's the love between the Father and the Son that spirates the Holy Spirit. That's the term, spirates. Spirates, spirit, get it? Spirates the Holy Spirit. This is what it means when we say, when the Nicene Creed says that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son. This is what it means. The love between the Father and the Son spirates the Holy Spirit. God is love. So as some people would say, for love to exist, there must be a lover, a beloved, and the love between them. Magnet's got that. All three elements of the magnet arise from the very same substance. They are consubstantial. It's not a mixture of three substances, north, south, mix them together. That's not it. Every single part of the magnet gives rise to the North Pole. Every single part of the magnet gives rise to the South Pole. Every single part of the magnet gives rise to the field. The elements cannot exist in isolation, but every magnet only exists as a unity in a single magnet. So one magnet, three aspects, three elements. So in God, there are three persons in a beautiful interlocking harmony, just like a magnet. The existence of any one person of the Trinity requires the existence of the other two, just like a magnet. Three persons arise from the same substance. They are consubstantial, just like a magnet. None of the persons can exist in isolation, but only as a unity of one God. One God, three persons. You like the analogy? Good. Just one more thing. Originally, the Nicene Creed didn't say proceeds from the Father and the Son. Originally, the Nicene Creed said proceeds from the Father. It was a mistake because the Father is the creator, right? We all get that in our head, right? The Father's creator. So it was created, proceeds from the Father. Somebody in the western part of the church back then figured out that that was incomplete. And the western portion of the church added one word to the creed, filioque, which means and the Son. But they did so without consulting the eastern part of the church. This caused a controversy called the filioque controversy, which helped to split the church into east and west, which is why we have a Catholic church and an Orthodox church. Now, there was also some other geographic things and political things that entered into it. It wasn't just that one word, but that was like one of the straws that broke the camel's back kind of thing. But aside from a very few minor issues, we basically have the same faith. the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church. Basically have the same faith. Now, personally, I think the magnet analogy answers this controversy once and for all. Because if the Holy Spirit truly proceeds only from the Father, then we should be able to sprinkle iron filings on the table and see that the iron filings only go around one pole. So it would look something like this, okay? I'm joking. Thank you. But we know magnets don't look like this. I'm not suggesting that God has to obey the laws of magnetism. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Magnets look like this, therefore the Catholic Church is right. Thus endeth my analogy. That's it. I like that analogy. I like the magnet analogy. I think it really does help us understand, because we understand a magnet is one thing, but we also understand there's three parts of it. And there's no way to break them apart. There's no way to separate them. There isn't a mixture of things. It's just one thing.